I'm not sure if we're going to get there. Welcome back to Grandpa Playing Games in Derail Valley. In this episode, we're going to be trying to haul some freight from harbour and town to Coal Mine East, which is not that very far from here. And to do it, we're going to be using our newly tamed SLUG, in conjunction with a pair of DE2 locomotives, which should be able to haul the 460-ton load pretty easily, you would think, right? Let's see. So in order to be able to achieve today's objective, we're going to have to accomplish a number of things. Firstly, we're going to have to set up our locomotives so that we have one DE2 locomotive on either side of the SLUG, and they're set up with a multi-unit cable so that we can control all three engines from the one cab. Secondly, we're going to have to need to locate and couple up to our freight train. And thirdly, we're going to have to climb up a pretty steep gradient to get from here to our destination. So first step, we're going to take our SLUG and we're going to run our current locomotive around from the side of the SLUG that it's currently connected to the other side, so that the locomotive is facing in a forward direction. And after that, we're going to go and take it near the roundhouse, where we're going to pick up another DE2. We're going to connect it to what will then be the back of the locomotive and SLUG combination, so that we have a DE2 on either side of the SLUG, each connected via the multi-unit cable. So essentially we will have a lot of driving wheels available to us as we tackle that gradient. Okay, so we're going to pull into the station here, and here's where we're going to uncouple from the SLUG, and then we'll commence our runaround operation and couple up on the other side of it. Let's jump out here, uncouple the SLUG. Really close those cocks before disconnecting the air hose. Okay, we'll leave the SLUG there and now commence our runaround operation. By rights, we probably should have put the handbrake on the SLUG, but it's so heavy I don't think we're going to really need to do so, because I don't think it's going to move much when we nudge up against it later. Now our load today is going to give us 36,000 if we achieve it within 55 minutes, but if we manage to beat the 55-minute mark, we're going to get a 50% bonus on top of that, which is $54,000 or thereabouts. So one thing is going to be important today is to minimize any damage or fuel consumption, anything like that, so that we get the maximum amount of money that we can for this trip. And if we're successful, we might be able to manage to acquire the DH4 locomotive that we've been looking at getting for quite some time now. But every time that we've tried to get it, something else has come along, some other place where we've had to spend our money. So doing things gently today is going to be important. Okay, we've changed tracks. We're headed back towards the SLUG on parallel track. I like to do a lot of this shunting operations during the night, so that then when we tackle the main challenge later on, which is actually hauling the load to our destination, that we're doing that in daylight. Usually pretty important. We can see where we're going with a lot more clarity than just the headlights provide us. Okay, we just passed the SLUG. Get past the points, turn around and couple her up. That should be about far enough. Ooh, brakes. Come on, slow down. Okay, let's change the point so that we can go onto the track where we left the SLUG. Okay, nice and gently today. Let's not slam into the SLUG and cause some damage to our locomotive. So we're just going to crawl up to it very, very gently. Easy does it. That's pretty good, I think. Okay, we're close enough. We can couple it up. Across the chain, tighten it up. Now we better get underneath. So not only do we need to connect the air hoses, but we also need to connect the multi-unit cable, which is the blue one up here. Unfortunately, a little hard to grab sometimes. We've got it now, but in the process we undid our air cable, so that's reconnected now. Need to open the air cocks. One on the locomotive, one on the SLUG. Now that's done, we're all coupled up. We can hop in the cab and proceed on our way to the roundhouse. Let's make things a little bit quieter for ourselves and close that door. Get our lights configured properly. Alright, we can see where we're going, so let's get going. Now here at Harbour Town, the roundhouse is not too far away from the station office, which is where we started off. Okay, but we're going to actually leave this locomotive and its connected slug on the main line, and we'll go for a walk and pick up the, or maybe even a fly, and pick up the other DE2 and couple it onto the back of this current configuration. But we'll make sure that that particular locomotive, that particular DE2, is turned in such a way that its front is facing in a forward direction as well. So we'll have each of these DE2s basically facing in an opposite direction, so that no matter which direction we're going, we can hop into the cab of the one that's always facing to the front. If that makes sense. It does to me. Okay, this should about do it. I think we can stop here. Let's turn the engine off so that we're not consuming fuel whilst we go and pick up the other DE2. Always feel a little bit like Superman as I'm going to go very quickly from one point to the other in Derail Valley. And this is the DE2 that we're going to use. We had left it here in one of our previous adventures. We've started it up. As you can see, we're currently travelling in a reverse direction with this locomotive, so that means the back of the locomotive will connect to the slug, and the front of the locomotive will be facing the direction we want to travel. So no need to turn the locomotive on the round turntable here. Okay, now remember our motto today. Our motto is maximise profits, minimise damage. Yeah, let's see how that goes. So instead of running up into the slug at 100 miles an hour, we're going to creep onto it very gently. The slug seems to be pretty sturdy, pretty hardy. But our locomotives, not so much. Okay, not too bad, I think. Chain across, tighten it up. Now, let's get underneath again. Yeah. We'll have to get underneath to connect these hoses. Air hose. Again, a little bit of a problem connecting the multi-unit cable, but there we are, it's connected now. Only thing left is to open up the air cocks. Okay, so that's the physical connections made, but what we also need to do is to set up some of the controls within the cab so that we only have, for instance, one master air brake valve open. And of course we want to have both engines running. So we'll close that air brake valve there. And we'll start this one up. That means that all of the locomotives plus the additional traction from the SLUG will be engaged as we drive from either cab. So that's step one done. Easy as that. Next step, let's go and find our train and couple up to it. We're doing all this before we actually accept the job, and in doing so we make sure that we maximise the time available to us in order to claim the bonuses and the extra 50% payout. Travelling through the yard, we're headed to roughly the same place that we went in our previous adventure when we went to find the SLUG in Steve's garage. If you haven't seen that mission, I suggest you do so. I'm going to put a link to it up on the screen now. You can always click that, watch that, and then come back and view the rest of this video too if you want. Okay, we need to stop just past here, change the points, and then go into Yard B in order to pick up and couple to our train. Train is ahead, just to the right. Everything going smoothly so far, which is great. Alright, same deal as coupling to the SLUG. Let's make sure we go in there nice and slowly and don't cause any damage to either the locomotive or the carriage that we're trying to couple to. Okay, they're slow and then they're slow. This is possibly a little too slow. Let's give it a bit more throttle. Just a small burst. Yep, there we are, contact. Okay, let's couple them together. Again, chain across, tighten the chain up. Duck underneath, connect the air hoses, and open the air cocks. Oops, I misclicked there. Tighten that up. Again, find the air cock there, open that up, and open the one up on the first carriage. And there we are, coupled to our train, ready to begin our ascent towards Coal Mine East. Looks awesome. Okay. But before we can get underway, we need to go and accept the job. Let's go and do that now. We get a better look at the train that we'll be hauling as we fly past, and head back towards the station office. Okay, so this is the job, $36,919, $400 and 460 ton. Let's just pop it here and have a look at the path ahead. Let's check the route map. We're going from Harbour Town. We'll be going pretty well due north up to Coal Mine East. So we need to make sure this set of points is set to the right. This set of points is set to the right as well. And that's pretty well it as far as... I'm sorry, that one needs to be... Well, it doesn't really matter because it's a trailing point, but it's nice if we have it set in the right direction. So we'll set it to the left, which is favouring our direction of travel. Okay, now we've set that. We're going to go and we're going to validate the order. We've coupled up. Now we have to haul it to Coal Mine East and drop it off at track B1I, I for incoming. Oh no. Whilst we've been doing all that, the weather has taken a turn for the worse. Let's have a look at the weather forecast. Rain, sun. 10 o'clock now. It's not due to be sunny again until the early afternoon. I don't think we can afford to wait around because we've already accepted the job. Rain, hail or shine, we have to make our delivery. Now, where have I heard that before? Okay, we'll look at our train again as we fly past. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think it's 11 carriages. Hauling some pretty heavy equipment. Okay, let's hop into the cab, check everything out before we depart. Oops. No, we've got a problem. You can see a flashing light there above the brake pipe gauge. That means that one of the brakes on the train is engaged. Likely the handbrake at the end of the train here. Yep, that was the one. Okay. So we'll go back again. Double check that that light has been extinguished on the control panel. And if so, we're then good to go. And we can't waste time because the clocks are ticking. Yep. Okay, no flashing light above the brake pipe gauge. So we're good to go. Hauling is pretty easy along here. Even with the rain, we get a good start. No wheel slip. Of course, we are on level ground, so that makes it a lot easier. I think, given the weather conditions, we should turn our lights on. Everything going well, even though the rain is reasonably heavy at this stage. Still, we're on the flats. So during this trip it's going to be important for us to keep an eye on the RPM gauge and also the temperature gauge to make sure that we're not going to cause any damage to our locomotives, particularly as we can really only see the gauges relating to the locomotive whose cab we're in currently. But it should be representative of the gauges on the other DE2 as well. At least I think so. Not bad, 30 kilometres an hour at the moment. Although the speed is dropping slightly as we start to climb our way uphill. And you just heard a bit of an alarm there. That's wheel slip already. So we're going to apply some sand. We of course are carrying a limited amount of sand, so we have to be very sparing in our use of it during the course of the trip. Because if we run out of sand, experience shows us we're potentially in big trouble. The rails get extremely slippery under these sorts of conditions, and once the rails get slippery, the wheels can start spinning. If the wheels start spinning, we lose traction. If we lose traction, we lose speed. If we lose enough speed, then we're going to stall. And in actual fact, we can start slipping backwards. Trying to get a heavy train moving from a standing start uphill is a tricky proposition at the best of times. If you've got no sand, I think you've got no hope. Okay, so we're coming up to a tunnel. Of course, the rails should be fairly dry within the tunnel itself, so if it's a lengthy tunnel, we may be able to turn off our sand and not lose traction with any luck. Okay, let's give that a try. Yeah, that seems success seems good. Uh-oh. But we are getting some wheel slip now, so before we lose too much traction, let's apply the sand once more. Fairly steep here. You can see our speed is decreasing. We're at 20 kilometers an hour now. But whilst that sand is flowing, don't seem to be having too many problems. Fortunately, as soon as we try to turn it off, straight away we'll slip again. Still, we want to conserve it as much as we possibly can, so we'll continually try periodically turning the sand off and seeing if we're still getting wheel slippage, I guess is the word I'm looking for. If we find the wheels are no longer slipping, then we can leave the sand off for a while and keep some in reserve. We've got quite a ways to go. We're picking up speed though, which is good. The faster we go, the less likely it is that we need sand to keep our momentum. Yeah, this is good. I think we should be able to turn the sand off. Yeah, there we go. See? No wheel slip. That's great. So as long as we don't get into a steeper climb... as long as we don't get into a steeper climb, we should be okay, but immediately I said that, the gradient increased. So we're back to using our sand again. And as you can see, it's also had a big impact on the speed that we've been able to achieve. We're under 20 kilometers an hour now. It's not so much that I need to get there fast. I'm sure that if we have no problems with stalling, that we should be able to get to where we're going within the bonus time. But it's more, the longer it takes, the more sand we're going to consume. On these DE2 locomotives, pumping the sand onto the tracks is only done at one rate. It's either on or it's off. Unlike with the DM3 where you can control the rate in which the sand flows. And so that means that not only have we got a limited quantity of sand, but we've got a limited amount of time that we can apply sand to the rails. the speed is increasing again. The speed limit has gone up to 70 kilometers an hour here. So that means that hopefully, yeah, we can turn the sand off now and conserve it for later use if required. So this is kind of a refreshing change. We're picking up a lot of speed. Obviously we're heading downhill slightly here. So maybe we're past the worst of it. Of course we need to make sure we don't pick up too much speed. Otherwise it could end in tears. Oh, 50 kilometre an hour speed restriction. So we better slow down a little bit here. Even though it's quite misty and rainy out, it's still nice scenery as we travel along here. We're hugging the side of the hill, and we certainly don't want to plummet down the side by travelling too fast. Fortunately, they haven't implemented landslides in Derail Valley, at least not yet. Certainly don't want to give that suggestion to the developers. Things are hard enough as it is. But we're doing well. Unfortunately, we're starting to hit a really steep climb now. Our speed is decreasing, and yeah, straight away we start to get wheel slip. So let's put the sand back on again and hope that we've got enough sand to get us past the peak of the hill. We're about halfway between Harbour Town and Coal Mine East. We're the blue triangle there, and Coal Mine East is directly north of where we are now. So we're halfway. We've consumed about half of our sand, so I guess that's a promising sign. As long as we don't need to use a lot more in the second half than we did on the first half, we should be okay. long, long way down. And it's pretty steep along here, so I don't think there's any opportunity for us to stop our use of sand currently. Let's give it a try though. No. I don't wait for the bell to ring, I just keep an eye on the light, the red light to the left of the sand button. If that illuminates as soon as I turn the sand off, then I'm being very quick to turn it back on again to make sure that we don't get wheel slip. This wheel slip is not only going to cause problems as far as our speed and our traction is concerned, but it also causes damage to the locomotives, and that can be pretty expensive to fix later on. No, but I'll keep trying it sooner or later, I hope, because the rain seems to have eased, that we should be able to turn our sand off for a period of time again. Maybe in the tunnel, not sure. Depends how long the tunnel is, really. Looks like it's going to be a pretty short tunnel though, this one. So not even where the rails are dry in the tunnel am I able to stop using sand currently. Okay, let's just confirm we're going to be trying to drop off at track B1I. Go to our station map and have a look at Coal Mine East. We know we've got all our points set correctly to get to Coal Mine East. Now once we get there, we need to make sure that we're heading and setting the points in the right direction to get to Yard B. And once we get to Yard B, we have to make sure that our points are correctly set for track B1I. So that's all done. We should be able to just pull straight in there now without too many issues. Once we get up this hill, and the hill just seems to keep on going and going and going. We're still maintaining 20 kilometers now, that's not bad, but we've used about 3/4 of our reserves of sand, and that's worrying me quite a fair bit. We still seem to have quite a way to go. Have a look where we are. There we are there, as you can see. It's tantalisingly near. If we could just draw a straight line between where we are now and Coal Mine East, it wouldn't be all that far, but we actually have to go past it and come back due to the way the terrain is. Terrain for the terrain. Oh no. Yeah. We have a low quantity warning above the sand gauge, indicating that we don't have too much left. We are picking up speed. Maybe, just maybe, we timed it perfectly. So this is pretty encouraging right now. Given the fact that it's quite bright and the rain has almost ceased, I think we can turn off the wipers. We could probably turn off our headlights as well, but no harm leaving them on. We're doing good speed now. No sand required. If it keeps up like this, before we know it, we'll be at our destination. We seem to have hit a bit of a gradient here. We only really have a small section to go now before we get to Coal Mine East. Again with the blue triangle there. We should be able to see Coal Mine East off to our right sometime soon. Once our destination is in sight, surely we're going to get there. Rain having stopped, hopefully the rails are beginning to dry out and become less greasy and slippery, allowing us to get a bit more traction without the use of sand. But I don't know, well, straight away we get a warning about wheel slippage. So, we've got the sand there, we may as well use it. Oh boy. Not much sand left though. I think maybe off in the distance there I can see the top of the hill. I'm not sure. With the amount of sand that we have, and look how steep it is ahead, I think we're in a bit of trouble. Uh-oh. We are out of sand and we can hear our wheels are slipping. You can see the kilometre an hour gauge, or the speedometer, is going up and down as the wheels slip. So too is the tachometer and the temperature gauges. We'll keep going as long as we can, because if we stop now, we're in danger of slipping back. And if we slip back, we're likely to go all the way back to where we started from, and certainly not make our bonus time, maybe not even the trip at all. Gosh. We're getting the warning about wheel slipping, but I'm not hearing much slipping happening right at the moment. I spoke too soon. There we go. We can see the wheel slipping and then gripping, slipping and gripping. This could be disaster. Well, we've managed to continue on. We can see we've come a long way. Over to there to the right, I think we can see Coal Mine East. Our speed's dropped right down, as you can see. There's our destination. I'm not sure if we're going to get there.
Many minutes later.
I don't know, I've got so many driving wheels on rails that should not be all that wet now. And yes, it's probably a pretty steep gradient, but I don't know how people manage to drive heavy trains up this particular passageway. So I'm entirely out of sand. The wheels are slipping constantly, but they are gripping enough periodically in order to keep us moving, albeit at a very slow rate. But we're causing damage as we do it. I can hear the locomotive saying, I think I can, I think I can. I don't want to disappoint it, but I'm not sure you can. Come on, keep going. Not that far to go. We're so close to our destination, I don't want to fail now. We're not slipping as much at the moment. We're on the verge of slipping, but not actually slipping. And I think maybe we have hit the apex here. We're not getting any warning about wheel slipping now. Perhaps I could increase the throttle slightly and see if we can't pick up a bit of speed now. Every time I attempt to add another notch of throttle, we get the wheel slip warning bell, like that. But I don't think we're actually slipping. Oh, come on, we're so close now. picking up a little bit of speed, but I don't want to get too much hope up just yet. Okay, that seems to be the top there where the viaduct is. It's almost within reach now. Gosh knows how much damage we've done to our locomotives, but that's almost irrelevant now. It's just a matter of getting there. Let's get there. Let's get some money for the job. We can always repair our locomotives as needed later. I think we're flattening out. We're picking up some speed now. Oh, I think we may have done it. So if you know a better way of going up a hill when you've got no sand left, on potentially wet, slippery rails, and minimising the wheel slipping and damage that comes about as a result of that, please let me know in the comments. It seems to be a challenge I have all too frequently in Derail Valley. And that's in the past now, 22 kilometres an hour, and we can see the end is nigh. Yep. We're past the worst of it. It's pretty much downhill now to Coal Mine East. Oh, we don't want to go too fast through here. Derail now. Coal Mine East, there you are. And am I relieved to see you. Straight into our track B1I. So we set up all of our points correctly. Everything was great there. We'll just travel along a little bit before we come to a stop to make sure the entire train is in the siding. We'll turn off our locomotives, apply the handbrake to at least one of the carriages in the train, and then find the station office and go and get our money. Okay, let's put the handbrake on for good measure. And handbrake on one of the carriages. Hop into this cab. Oh, seems to have a bit of sand left. We'll turn it off. Into the front cab. Turn it off. Let's go and get our moolah. Have a look to see where the station office is, and it appears to be pretty much straight ahead in that direction. Let's go. Ah, there it is. You can also tell by the green flashing light above the station office. That's always a good indication, especially if the weather conditions are foul or foggy, to be able to locate where you're going. Okay, let's get our job out, put it into the validator, and see if we manage to achieve our bonus. We got money, so that means we got paid, which is good. And yes, it looks like we managed to get a nice tidy bonus here. So the job is completed. The job itself, 36,000. And we got a bonus of 18,000 for a total of 55,000, which is fantastic. So I think, even though we had our challenges, a great result. Now let's go and see what the damage is. So our two locomotives are listed here, and oh my goodness, heavy damage to this one with a total of 44,000, nearly 45,000 in fees, including not only the damages but also the consumables used along the way. Of course, we do have insurance, which will can spend 30,000, and we can clear off all the fees for that locomotive and this one here as well, which is very similar in price. But it says manually servicing the vehicles may allow us to avoid certain fees. So let's go and see how much it would cost us to manually service the vehicles. Maybe we can save a substantial amount of money. We currently have 92,000 in our wallet. 50,000 is the amount that we want to have in order to buy our DH4 locomotive. And of course, we need to have all of the fees paid off before we can acquire the license to be able to drive a DH4. So, yeah. Let's go and see how much it'll cost us to fix up our locomotives. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that there was no fee listed on the career manager for the SLUG, and the reason for that is that you cannot repair the SLUG through the career manager. You actually have to perform any repairs on the SLUG through manual servicing. So we'll have a look later and see how the SLUG did. I know the SLUG didn't start off with 100% health because it actually had a bit of an accident in our previous episode. So perhaps that was one of the reasons that we were getting as much wheel slip as we were. Perhaps the slug was not giving us optimum traction. Might be worth our while to repair the slug as well, depending on how much it costs, of course. Because if we are going to drive these locomotives and the slug out of here to another destination, we know we have some pretty steep hills to navigate to get to pretty much anywhere else. So, okay, we've uncoupled from the train now. Let's go and find the maintenance point and see how much this is all going to cost us. Worst comes to worst, we have to spend 30,000 to clear our fees through the insurance copay on the career manager machine. Then of course it's a matter of, do we also do manual repairs on the slug, which will further reduce our balance. So best case scenario as far as money is concerned, we've currently got 92,000 in our wallet. If we spend no more than the 30,000 to clear the fees, that will leave us with 62, which is a fairly tidy sum and should certainly cover the 50,000 we need for the DH4 locomotive. That being said, there are no DH4 locomotives here for us to drive. So we're going to need to basically pick up a job from Coal Mine East to go to a location where we know there is a DH4 locomotive before we're actually able to take advantage of that $50,000 license. So maybe we don't need to pay that amount right now. Maybe we better fix up these locomotives and the slug to 100% health each to enable us to fairly easily get a load to a location that has a DH4 locomotive that we can then buy the license for with the proceeds that we get from, you know, any job that we've taken to that destination. All this is a fantastic way of saying I got no idea what we're doing right now. Let's see how things pan out. Maintenance point is just over there somewhere. I think near that steam locomotive. Okay, we need to set our points accordingly so that we can get to the maintenance depot. So we need to set this point to the left and one to the right, which it already is. We need to hop out of this locomotive and get to the one on the other side so we can see where we're going. Now, because we have our DE2s in opposite facing directions, when we do jump from one cab to the other, we need to make sure that that particular gear lever is set to, for instance, forward, if we're going forward like we are now. Because that will actually set the gear lever to reverse in the other DE2 locomotive because it's facing in the opposite direction. Fortunately, all of that is handled automatically by the multi-unit cable. The maintenance section here is located outdoors, open to the elements, not in a nice little roundhouse like it was in Harbour Town. Okay, we're not quite far enough yet. We need to move forward a little bit before we can actually use the machines. You might have heard the single bell noise just then. That is an indicator that there is a locomotive within range for servicing. Okay, let's see how much this is going to cost us. Seems to be okay. What about the wheels? Oh my goodness. That's 18,700 and change just to repair the wheels alone. And that's just for one locomotive? Let's see about adding oil and sand. And of course we've still got fuel costs on top of that as well. We don't have much money. And 18,000 is cheaper than 40,000, there's no doubt about that, but look at how much it's going to cost us to refill the sand. And the oil. I'm not even going to try to add fuel at this stage. Let's see what the total is currently. Nearly $21,000 for one locomotive. Oh, I can't believe that. You know, if it's 21,000 for one locomotive, that'd be approximately 42 for two. And yet, I'm pretty sure it says here, I only need to pay 30,000 with my insurance to clear all of the fees. That's not just for one locomotive, that's for both. So instead of 21,000 per locomotive, that works out to be 15,000 per locomotive. Seems a much better proposition to me. Here it says if we have manual service we could save money, but I don't see it myself. Nah, I think to heck with it. Let's go ahead and pay the 30,000. I know what it says, but I don't believe it. That's it. Put it in there, 30,000. And there we are. It says that insurance has cleared all of the fees. So that means that basically it only cost us 15,000 per locomotive here due to the insurance. We're left with 15,000 each locomotive. We're left with 62,000 so far. And in addition, it's also topped up all of the fuel as well as the oil, etc. So nothing more to pay. Except, let's have a look at the slug. Yeah. 74.7% for the slug. I guess it's probably a good idea if we see how much it'll cost us to get the slug back up to pristine condition. I'm pretty sure if it is at 100%, it will have a lot more sand reserves than we've currently got within the DE2 locomotives, so that would help us on any gradients. And perhaps the traction motors themselves would be able to produce better hauling power for us as well. Okay, because we've done a copay, every time you do like a copay on the career manager and you go back to your locomotives, it's reset the position of the parking brakes on the locomotives, turned them on, no matter what state you left them in, on or off. And it has also made turned off the master air brake valves on each of the locomotives that it might have been on previously. So we need to make sure that one of those is open as well. Okay, slug is in position. Let's see how much it'll cost to fix it. Whoa, look at that sand cost. The sand is going to cost 5,000 alone. Holy moly. We need to repair the body. Oh, this is not going to be cheap. And the wheels. And the powertrain. Total 20,500. We have 62,000, so that basically means that we will fall under the 50,000 that we need for the DH4. However, as I said, we don't have a DH4 here, so let's fix up the slug. Let's try to get everything back to 100% and pick up a job here that is going to enable us to earn enough money for a delivery to a location that does have a DH4. Well, we've done it now. Let's see how we go. Let's see what job we might pick up. But firstly, so we're not spending fuel needlessly, turn off our engine. Go back once more to the station office and see what jobs might await us for our next episodes. Okay, well, seem to only have fairly limited choices here. This one is to the coal power plant. A reasonable amount of money, 40,000. But I don't know if a DH4 locomotive would be available at the coal power plant. And looking at the map, it's also a very, very long way away. There is a logistical hall here, and that goes to the food factory in town. So the beauty of that one is that we know that there is a DH4 locomotive at the food factory. There's a second job here also going to the food factory. So perhaps those two combined, not bad, but they're only 15,000. We don't need that one. Let's get rid of it. There is a shunting job here. Oh, 25,000 for a shunting job. So, wait. Oh yeah, it's a shunting job. So that means that we only do it within the coal mine east, even though the job will eventually go to the coal power plant. So perhaps if we do the shunting job and we took the two jobs after that are heading to the food factory, we should end up with sufficient funds and more in order to be able to buy the license for a DH4 and pick one up so that we can drive it in our next episode. Or the episode after the next episode. One of them, anyway. So that's the plan. In the meantime, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, as usual. Would appreciate it if you haven't subscribed yet to please click the subscribe button. If not, go ahead and give this video a like. It costs you nothing. And leave any comments that you would like in this video as to things you'd like to see us doing in future episodes within Derail Valley. But in the meantime, it's Grandpa Playing Games, signing out. See you next time.